Okay, quick warning, this is not a how-to video, and obviously if you're not confident with high voltages, the high voltages that are coming in, the AC voltages are very dangerous voltages. So if you don't know what you're doing, find someone that can show you how to do it safely. Back to the video. Okay folks, a linear power supply. We have a full wave bridge rectifier, and basically what this does is it's going to take our AC and turn it into fluctuating DC. So these are our diodes in this wonderful little pattern. Now you can make a power supply that only uses 2 diodes and it still is a full wave bridge rectifier, but that's the ones that use a center tapped transformer. So if you don't want to have to use a center tapped transformer, this is the way to do it. And we take our load off here, and we take our, and we put our AC in here. And what ends up happening is you have a transformer here and a transformer here. Now it's normally going to be a step down for a DC transformer. So we've got two 40 volts coming in on this side, and coming out of here we'll have AC. And in the case of, well, we actually should say to 30 volts in Australia now, AC. Coming out here, my transformer, the new one that I have, this one here, the larger one that's going to allow I'm building this power supply for my active loop antenna that's in the yard, and I'm going to try and get a 14 odd volts out of it because there's quite a bit of voltage drop along the length of the cable that's supplying the power to the actual amplifier in the loop. So we're going to go, the output for this transformer is 18 volts. How do I know that? It says it on top of the transformer. So we've got 18 volts coming out there, and I wanted to get 14 volts. And this linear power supply, now a linear power supply is the old school power supply. Once upon a time in the olden days, folks, this is what all power supplies look like usually, and they weren't switch mode power supplies. So that is the reason why you have this very, very hefty transformer, because it's dealing with 50 hertz. These days we use what's known as a switch mode power supply, SMPS, or a switcher supply, and what that does is we chop our 230 volts AC, which is at 50 hertz, up into the kilohertz. Higher frequency means we can use a smaller transformer, but they are very noisy, especially RF wise. Now they're getting better at reducing and attenuating that noise, but this will always give you better noise, or sorry, less noise, RF noise, if you're dealing with RF. And the other thing is it's simple, so it's quiet and it's simple. But it's heavy, and the transformers now are very expensive because they're not really manufacturing them at scale anymore. Speaking of transformers and linear supplies, this is a Drew Diamond design. It's the Miser's supply, and it's built in an old PC case. And the way of getting around the cost of the high amperage transformers that are old school that I found was that I went and collected a whole pile of microwave ovens. There was one point in time where I had 5 or 6 of them stacked up, and I was driving my XYL absolutely crazy with the amount of junk that I was bringing home. And what I did with these transformers was I knocked out the shunt in them because they are a very inefficient transformer. Magnetizing current from one of these is anything from 600 milliamps to an amp. And to have a supply that's sitting there and it's drawing an amp just sitting still doing nothing is not a really ideal situation. What ended up happening was I would knock the shunt out. I would also knock out the very, very, very high tension secondary winding, because the secondary winding gets up into the kilovolts, and I mean kilovolts. Now, mucking around inside microwave ovens, don't go anywhere near the magnetron, because there is, I think it's beryllium. It's very poisonous if you breathe it in, and there's all sorts of things that can go wrong, so don't do this unless you know what you're doing. But I knocked the secondary out, rewound it with high amp wire, and got it up to, I think it's 20 something volts. And the magnetizing current and the heat that was being generated I was not happy with, and most people who build these supplies are not happy with that situation, which is probably the block to doing this as a project. Reading Drew Diamond books, he discussed the fact that you could series up the primary winding, and when you put the primary windings in series, and I think I put my secondaries in parallel, the magnetizing current went from 700, 800 milliamps down to like 150 milliamps, which was acceptable. And this supply here
is basically what runs my entire shack now. I run the Hermes light off it. I run the QRP playground off it. Everything's running off this supply. And the reason why I didn't want to have my loop running off this supply is because I was very lazy when I set this all up, and nothing's fused properly, or some things are fused and some things aren't. So I don't like to leave it unsupervised. I do have a current meter on the front here to tell me what's going on. In the past, when this has shorted out, when the linear amplifier has gone to a dead short, it still has not caused the supply to fail. It throttles itself back and it survives the onslaught. So Drew Diamond's design is absolutely an amazing thing, because it always gets me out of trouble. If you want to see the videos of me doing all that stuff, I'll put the links below. Back to the video.
So that's our full wave bridge rectifier. So when we come out of here, we've got AC coming out of the transformer and AC going into the transformer. What comes out here of a full wave bridge rectifier is you'll get DC. It's only going one way, but it's the pulses top and bottom of our sine wave. So our sine wave comes in like that, and it comes out in, and it comes out of the bridge like that. Now that is very bumpy DC. We don't want to feed that into any electronics. Electronics isn't going to like it. So what we do is we're going to put a giant capacitor here. Usually it's a large value. I would suggest if you want to build a power supply like this, look up a design. I think I've got some transformers in my junk pile in this old stereo board. These are 4700 microfarad, 35 volts, probably overkill, but hey, what the heck? Let's go with that and see what it looks like on the oscilloscope. So we're going to go 4700 microfarad, because that's what we've got. They're polarized, so you've got to make sure you put them in the right way or they explode. And then we're going to go into a 3-pin regulator. The 3-pin regulator I have, I've gone to Tandy. I'll explain what all these parts are in a minute, but I went to Tandy, not Tandy, what am I talking about? Tandy, I'm back in the 1980s.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy.
I got myself a I think it's an LM 7412, but it's a 3-pin regulator. Now these 3-pin regulators, I'll flash up some of the different types of regulators. Usually the last 2 digits of the regulator is the voltage. This is the 3 amp one. Usually you get them in 1 amp, but I wanted a little bit more grunt, and I'm going to sync this to the actual case. And it's got a center pin here that goes to earth. We go DC, and it has to be smooth DC, which is why we have the transformer, which is why we have this capacitor, because once it comes out of this capacitor, what the capacitor does is it's going to do this to the DC. It's going to go, it's going to charge up and then discharge ever so slightly. So you have just a small amount of ripple now. The DC has been smoothed and tamed. So we've got our DC coming in here. It has to be higher than the amount we want to regulate. It says in the data sheet how much higher, but it's usually a couple of volts. And then we're going to come out here. And if I was using that 12 volt regulator, I'm going to have 12 volts. But I wanted 14 volts or a little bit more maybe. So how do we do that if our regulator is a 12 volt regulator? If we wanted to say 8 volts and it was a 6 volt regulator, how are we going to make it higher? And it's actually easier than you probably imagine. Instead of connecting that to earth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use forward bias diodes. And we all know that when a diode conducts, a silicon diode, we get a 0.7 volt voltage drop across it that doesn't change, or it's very, very close to being constant because of the characteristic curves of a diode. So that'll give us 1.4. So I'm going to do 3 of them in series, and then the earth. So 3 diodes in series, 1, 2, 3, and then an earth. Okay, so they're going to, that's what that's going to look like, and that will give me 3 times 0.7, which is about 2.1 volts, which would take me up to about 14.1 volts. Because when we take this voltage here, and instead of having 0 here, because that's what we have here, we're going to have a voltage here of 2.4. It now thinks 2.4, 2.1, numbers are not my friend, 2.1 volts. We know that this is now going to think that's 0, so it's going to make this 12 volts into 14.1 volts. And that, folks, is how I'm going to make my 12 volt regulator a lot louder, higher voltage. And it's fairly good. Now, if you wanted to do this a more simple way and you had a Zener diode that was about the right voltage, you would put the Zener diode in, but you would have it reversed biased, because that's how Zener diodes work. And you would have your Zener diode going to earth that way, and you could have a 2 volt Zener, and that would take you to 14 as well. But I wanted to go a little bit higher, and I wanted to be able to regulate this so that I could go up or down. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And there's the two ways: a Zener diode in its reverse bias style, or a forward biased diode on the center pin to raise our regulated voltage up or down. Living the life, aren't we, eh? Yes. Don't bite me. Out with the old. And like I said, we will hold on to that. I'll try and put it somewhere safe rather than just dropping it in the junk box, because it'll get destroyed if we drop it in there. And we have some standoffs that are already in here that we can bolt a board to. Like I said, our bridge will go in there. And then all we really need to do is mount our 3 diodes. Although we might just leave the RF choke on the outside. And then we'll add a little bit of wire to that and heat shrink it. Everything will be wonderful. That'll go through the lid. We need to get our parts off this board here. Okay, we've got some little rubber grommets here, because when this transformer's sitting here, I wanted to make sure that the wires, as they pass through the holes, are not rubbing on any rough edges, so that we're not creating the potential for an electrocution happening. So that is that. So we're ready almost to get this in the box. So here we go. We've got our capacitors in, our bridge, our rectifier, our transformer. I need to get a fuse on the back here, wire up the mains, and I don't know what I'm going to do for a fuse in here. I may even just cheat and put an inline fuse. I just want to make sure that we've got some sort of short circuit protection happening. Okay, this was a video that came out of our little tape deck. You know, this was never going to be enough, but we gave it a try. We have a much more substantial transformer here now, and a bigger bridge and thicker wiring. 5 amps on the output. Really it should be 3 amps, because this regulator is 3 amps. So if this blows, regulator is definitely going to be dead. And I've got a 3 amp fuse on the input here. So we're fused input and output, and we're going to get the lid on this and switch it on and see if we make some smoke, or if we have a supply that works. Fingers crossed. Lights, camera, action. No smoke. 13.88 volts. Let's see what happens when we load it up on the magic active antenna loop. So that is our supply ready to go. So this, folks, is the Bellini Tosi antenna. And this is the cable that supplies the DC. It's a garden light feed line. And here is the supply, and the supply's been on for about 4 or 5 days. Gives the 13.88, does not drop even noticeably. And I am a very happy chappy. While you're still here, thank you for sticking around right to the end of the video. You're one of the small percentage of people that hasn't had their sense ratios addled by short form content. Hope you enjoyed the video.
If you haven't already, please reach down, hit the like and hit the subscribe button, because we are achingly close to 4,000 subscribers. Now, when I started this channel, well, I started playing ukulele, doing art videos at the beginning. But when I turned it into a radio channel, I think I had 600 subscribers, and I never imagined getting into the thousands. I'd just like to see it get as high as possible. Probably not for the reason of making huge amounts of cash from all this, because presently it doesn't seem to change no matter how much content I make or upload. They seem to be content to pay me $1 a day. So I might have to retire to a third world country. Anyway, 7-3, and I shall see you in the next episode of The Art of Engineering. Bye.